Congress is back in Washington amid all the National Guard talk. More fireworks expected on Capitol Hill in the coming days, even the potential for a government shutdown.
With that, great time to bring in ABC News Washington Bureau Chief Rick Klein. Hey, Rick, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Let's start with all of this National Guard talk. We're seeing the action play out in Chicago, and now we're seeing this discussion in cities nationwide, including here in Milwaukee. What do you think is the end game here from the administration?
I think the administration is interested in a show of force and to make the point that that it's committed to keeping Americans safe at any cost. And I've thought a lot about how this is perceived by different people. Using it as a resident of Washington, D.C., I've talked to a lot of people. Some people are uncomfortable with what they're seeing on the streets. Others who say, look, I'm not looking to commit a crime. If I'm safer as a result of this this deployment, then great. Even the mayor here has sort of signaled the same. But it is going to begin to come to a new reality when you have places that aren't as welcoming even as Washington, or that don't have the same legal structure around it. If you go to a Chicago or if you go to Milwaukee and you don't have all of the local officials and state officials on board, that raises a whole hornet's nest of legal challenges. And it's not clear if this administration wants to get into that, if they'd like to make it a political point, and if this is going to extend not just to bluer cities, but to redder parts of the country as well.
Rick, Congress is back in session right now. We saw senators really starting with that contentious hearing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Last week. Senator Baldwin outside of that hearing calling for RFK Jr.'s resignation. We saw Senator Johnson in the hearing really defending RFK Jr. Does RFK have the backing of Republicans still on Capitol Hill?
I mean, the short answer is maybe not. The longer answer is it may not matter. He is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and as long as President Trump has trust in him, there's not that much that Congress can do. The chance to provide that oversight would have been in the confirmation hearings. And the senators now that are having this new concern, they voted for him and they put him in office. And even the approved the CDC director that he ended up firing just a few weeks later. Now, they can exert some control over who the new CDC director will be, but Kennedy himself is the secretary. He can set the direction of the department. He can set the direction of the agencies under it, including the CDC. So even very strenuous objections from very influential members of Congress, some of the medical doctors, some of the part of Senate leadership, none of that really will matter in the end if Kennedy has the trust of the president, which at this point it appears that he does.
ABC News Washington Bureau Chief Rick Klein. Hey, Rick, like always, thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Up next, the Smithsonian shakeup.